All right. Looks like we're officially recording. Okay. All right. And then Edwin, when you're talking to me, like your eyes are going to want to look at you or the picture. So when try to make it a point to try to look as high as you can to the
At the
camera,
camera.
because then it looks like you're looking at the camera. So when you start re-explaining something to me, look at me, because look at the difference of me when I look at you. Then I look here, I'm looking at
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? It makes a big difference.
Right.
So
It does.
I try to remember that too, but we'll go from there. So
Sounds like an idea, brother.
all right, welcome to the Chris Medellin Show, and this is Chris Medellin. And today, I wanted to do something just a little bit different. I wanted to introduce everyone to my man Edwin Escaray, and this dude is straight up raw and unfiltered. I met him several months ago in Las Vegas, and I knew just after talking to him he was the real deal. I mean, this dude like took me back to my days growing up in San Antonio. There was just something about him, his dialect, his voice, everything about this dude would took me back home. But not only that, this guy went from locked up to lender, and he's helping the Latino community find a better way in life and helping them find home ownership, because we all know that helping a family get into a home gives that family such a better chance at success as a family, and those children have a better success than living in public housing or in an apartment. So Edwin has really taken this and is on his way up to start helping more and more people in the community. He's been a successful lender, and he is about to blow it up on his YouTube and social media. Um, Dude, I know you're going to do some crazy stuff this year. And why I wanted you now is because I saw a star in the making, man. And I wanted to be the first to get you on my show. So, Edwin, I can't thank you enough, man, for taking the time out of your busy day and being on the show with me. Welcome.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on your show. Believe me, it's a great pleasure. It's a great honor. But yeah, you're absolutely right, bro. You know, it's I've been through a lot. I was, of course, we started from the bottom, but like they say, now we're here. You know,
Dude,
it was a struggle, bro. But thankfully, we're here now. And like you said, we're here to educate our people and help our people. And like I tell everybody, if I can make it, you guys can definitely make it.
100%, man. And that's truly what it's about. You know, like I think about my upbringing, and I think about where I came up from. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. Not a lot of people know what it was like there. But you know, in any environment, there's always going to be gangs. There's always going to be, you know, something. And coming from a Latino background and growing up the way that we did, you know, some of my boys that would hear this, or some of the people that I grew up with, would probably laugh at me like, "Bro, it wasn't that bad," because there was always a worse part of town that we grew up in,
Right.
right? Like there was my hood, and then there was a worse hood, right? Like
It
I
was
can go,
always a bad side.
yeah.
Yeah.
But having said that, like I remember the anxiety of going to school. I remember the anxiety of going to middle school, and
Bro.
really, like, it was like a war zone in my opinion. Like once, like, elementary was easy, but once I got to middle school and you had this mesh up of like the harder schools and everything like that, it was like the anxiety was there because I knew it was a war zone. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. You didn't want to get jumped. You know, there was all these things that went. And you think about it today, like if our kids, and I know you have kids too, Edwin, if you know,
Yes.
you always, it's funny, but I would never let my kids go to the schools that I went to. And so it's crazy. But when I talked to you, when you and I met, it took me back, like just the way you were talking and everything. I was like, man, this dude, like, I grew up with this dude. Like, even though we came from different places, you know, I'm in my 40s. You know, just meeting somebody that I don't really get a chance to talk to all the time was crazy. And then I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to double down on this. And then I want to talk about like your upbringing and what it was like for you. But, you know, in our industry, we don't have enough diversity in our industry. And what I mean by that is we don't have enough Latinos helping Latinos.
True that.
We don't have we don't have enough people in the industry to speak Spanish. We don't have the documents in Spanish. And you know, we are one of the, you know, few industries that hasn't adapted to this. And so I would say, you know, from this point moving forward, one of my missions is that I want to help the community, and the Latino community, the Spanish speaking community, really connect with the right people so
Yeah.
that they're getting the best pricing, they're getting the best opportunity, and they're getting the best education on what it means to get into a home. And I love the fact, and thank you for being the guy that's out there in your community doing that. So Edwin, tell me what it was like, man, because I said it earlier, and you legit were locked up at one point in your life.
Oh
How
yeah.
did you get to that, dude? And what
It's
happened from there?
decisions you make in life, bro. Like you said, you go to high school, you go to junior high, and that's where everything starts. Your friends. Unfortunately, your mom knows best. She would always tell me, "Be careful who you hang around with. Be careful with your friends." But at that moment, you're like, "Yeah, whatever." But she's right. She's absolutely right. There was this one guy on social media said, "You're only about a couple of $1,000s away from who your friends are," and that's the truth. Because who you are with today depends on your future tomorrow. And that's what got me to start thinking about making the decisions I made. I could have been straight in the same situation I was before. I still know people in their 40s and 50s still banging, still repping for their neighborhood. But what made me actually make that decision was I noticed there's no good in that. There's nothing beneficial in that. And like you said, we have kids. I don't want my girls, I have two girls, an 18 and a 22-year-old. I don't want my girls going through that. I want them to know what I didn't go through, the good. When we were growing up, if you would have told me I was going to be a lender sitting in an office, talking to people, educating my Spanish community how to buy a home, I would have never believed you because those opportunities never existed where I came from. The only thing I knew was how to bang, how to try to make it, barely make it.
So what is
Holidays
it
in
like,
love,
man? Like it's funny because, like, not to interrupt you, but like
you know,
when we're growing up, I came from a good household. My parents both worked, they were still together. So I was very lucky in that sense. And they were very hardworking individuals, right? We were blue collar, working class, lower class, lower middle class. And so when I went to school and I looked at who was cool or who was like, I guess in a weird way in my situation, it was a little bit about protection as well. Like I needed to roll with the big dudes. I needed to roll with the dudes that had, some clout so that if they were cool with me, then people knew that, and then they'd leave me alone, right? Because I was a small dude, like anybody could have crushed me, right? Like so I had to use kind of my personality to kind of get my way through things.
right.
But for you, man, it's like kids today, they're looking up to people, right? Especially in these communities. What was it like for you? Like, what got you interested or leaning into, like, hey, that's a lifestyle that's attractive to me? Do you remember your thought process as a kid? And then, how did you migrate to just go do all the shit that you were doing that you probably shouldn't have been doing?
Oh, bro, it's just the only people I had influencing in my life were my cousins, older cousins. They were all gangsters. All of them banged, every single one of them. Some of them were incarcerated at the age of 14. Some of them were incarcerated right after that. The only thing I learned, like you mentioned, these youngsters nowadays, they get influenced by other people. The only influence I had was them. What made me lean towards that, and like you said earlier, you look for protection. You look for that
Mm-hmm.
influence of friends. You look for those people that could actually give you some kind of support. When we're growing up in that community, sometimes we don't have that support. We don't have mom and dad. Sometimes we only got mom. Some of us don't even have dad.
Yeah.
So it's hard. So you look for that good influence, but unfortunately, it's not good at all. But when
No,
you're
man.
growing up in that community, that's all you know. That's all you know, you know?
And it's camaraderie, it's like mentorship, the wrong mentorship, right?
The
But it's
wrong side.
mentorship. It's it's
Right.
it's all those things. But you know, so for you, how old were you when it really started getting like to the thick of it? Like where you really started, like you crossed over and you were like, okay, this is the lifestyle. Because I do remember this as a kid, like we once we got, like, we were all like very innocent, if you will, and we started seeing our older brothers and the people that we looked up to in the neighborhood start getting into stuff, right? And then the gang started forming, and then they were stealing
Right.
cars and doing all this stuff. And so we were kind of like, oh man, that looks exciting,
Yeah, that's what you
that
want to
right there.
do.
They were like, I remember and then it graduated to hitting stores. So they would, like, at night, they just just steal a car, drive it into a mall, grab all the stuff that you could and bounce out, right? And it was like, this is like, you know, and then they're selling it, you know, and then we're buying polos, you know, the next day,
Right.
you know, from that
Yeah.
hit at the Dillards, you know. And that was like so cool to me, man. I was like, okay, wait, there's a way to hack into getting cheap stuff and, you know, whatever. And it was like,
Fast and
so
easy.
yeah, it was fascinating. That's the best way to put it. I was fascinated by it. And then I kind of started to go into this acceptance model of, you know, okay, like if I had to do time, like, could I do it? What would it be like? And bro, you want to know what
Different.
straightened me out was I saw
Different.
American Me, dude. You remember
Yeah,
American Me, bro?
that's the real
Dude,
thing. That's the real deal.
dude, bro, like after seeing American Me when he went to juvie, dude, I was like, all right, I'm out. Like I'm just, you know,
That's the
just
real deal.
so how old were you when you got into the thick of it, man?
My first detention center, my first juvenile, I was only in 6th grade. I was
Sixth
bad.
grade.
Sixth grade.
So sixth grade, right? Isn't it crazy?
Bro,
Like, think
like
about this,
12,
man.
12, 11 years old.
Our minds aren't developed yet, dude. Like,
No,
think
they're
about your
not.
girls, dude. My kids, you know, it'll almost bring me to tears if I think about it. But my daughter's like in 5th grade. If she knew the things that I was doing or had done by 5th grade or done the things that we were doing in 6th grade, bro,
Bro, you would be, yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah,
I know what you
yeah.
mean, brother. Yeah, my first detention center was in the 6th grade, and of course, because of the influence of friends that I had. And it wasn't a pretty thing, but of course we try to learn, and of course I
Yeah.
did. Once I get into high school, things only got worse.
So let's hold on. I'm not gonna let you go through this. So you what did you do? Are you okay sharing what you did to get into
yeah,
juvie
definitely.
the first
Of
time?
course, the first time it was just a situation of consistently getting in trouble. So
Yeah.
finally they caught us ditching school. We was only in the 6th grade. We didn't know what we were doing. Of course, we didn't have nowhere to go, so they caught us in the boys' bathroom, just chilling, smoking. You know, so that's what we did. So they took us in. They told us that we were going to go to a place called Project Hope. This is in Inglewood, California. It's a detention center. So when you first get there, the first thing you do, of course, you enroll. But when you're in class, it's not a regular class. You try to go to the bathroom. They make sure you remove one of your shoes. The CO has to go with you and make sure that you come back, and they have to make sure that your shoes on the desk while you're at the bathroom. That's what got me thinking a situation like this is not the life I want.
Mm-hmm.
This is not for me. But
bro, you're still a kid. Like, are you terrified?
Yeah, of course you're terrified. You got a bunch of bigger, older kids not knowing what they're in there for. Like you said, American Me. You got older kids like, what you in here for? Oh yeah, I beat up the teacher. What you in here for? Oh, I stabbed this other kid. Like what? Like what? It's crazy, bro.
You're like,
crazy.
I was just ditching school in the bathroom.
Yeah, I was just ditching school in the bathroom. I didn't even have the courage to leave school. Like what? You know, but that's what it is.
So you're walking around like with this, like, you're terrified, right? You're seeing people get into fights. You know, there's no way around it. You're terrified in there. When you come out, did you have a sense of like pride for that experience in the hood?
Oh, yeah.
Like everybody's like,
chip on your shoulder.
Edwin,
like
yeah.
the big dog.
You're like, bro, I've been right. And in this, like, and I'm not, it's like, and I'm not scared to go. It's crazy. Like when you think about that, right? So, cause it's such a wrong way to think in a way, but
and it's the wrong thing kids look up nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like the more bad you do, the more that you influence them, unfortunately.
Well, that's it, man. And so you come out, right? And now you got some cred, you got some street cred on like, okay, well, Edwin's been in, right? He experienced something. So then what happened the next? Like you go back, how long were you in there the first time?
You're only there like for 30 days. Yeah, it's just you get dropped off in the morning, and of course it's regular school hours, but once you get in there, it's not a regular school.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So then you go back in, right? Was it one time or several times?
No, in 6th grade, that was my only time. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, but how long did it take for you to really like, did you get worse from that point or did you so what happened there?
Got worse. Well, of course, I was living in the wrong part of the neighborhood. My mom moved out. She tried to move me to a good part of the neighborhood. Well, unfortunately, once we moved to a different part of the neighborhood, you're always going to find that one circle of influence of friends that you want to hang around with, the bad people.
Yep.
So, of course, I started hanging around older folks, older G's. So, of course, I started hanging around them. Next thing you know, we're doing, like you said, we upgrade to bigger crimes, breaking into cars, doing things that we should have never been doing.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, yeah, maybe this is what I want to do. This is fun. Maybe this is. And that's when you start leaning more towards it. Why? You're not getting in trouble. Back in the days, if you got caught up, the only thing they would do was slap you in the wrist. Mom and dad would pick you up at the station. You're good.
Yeah.
You know, back that's what it was. Now, if they would have probably gave us the discipline that we needed, we probably wouldn't be doing that. But there wasn't no discipline. There was no guidance. There was no real guidance for us youngsters back in the hood.
So you're now, like, how old are you? How many years do you feel like you went straight into this lifestyle before you realized? And well, I'm gonna pause for a second. When you're talking, man, you're hitting your desk, and I do it too. Be careful because it's shaking the camera. Okay. So just be careful. We'll come back to it. So okay,
we move back a little bit.
Yeah, I do the same thing, and I'm like, okay, I get all excited. I want to talk about some shit. Okay, right. So all right, so Edwin, like, so how long, were you in the thick of it? In terms of you come out of juvie, you're now, you now kind of accept that this is a lifestyle that the hood and that your environment, is created for you, and you're rationalizing all these things that you're doing. How many years did it take before, you decided, all right, this is not the life for me?
That's a hard answer. I'm gonna be honest. Why? Because still at the age of 18, I was.
So you went in this for a long time, dude.
For a long time, bro. Yeah, I had to leave the state of California. I had no choice.
When did you leave Cali?
Fresh out of high school at the age of 18.
At 18. So you went straight, right? You went straight. You were gangster up until then.
Yeah, pretty much. I was with the wrong group.
Yeah, man. Definitely. So you get out, and what happened? What was the like the straw that broke the camel's back that you were like, I got to get out of here?
The move to Las Vegas.
How did you move to Las Vegas?
When I moved to Las Vegas, we had no family in Vegas. We knew absolutely nobody. So my mom actually knew a neighbor that had a son-in-law that worked construction. My mom had no other choice. She had to find a way for me to get out of the state of California. So when she talked to the neighbor said, look, you can go and send him over there. He's a working man. Long story short, they bring me to Vegas. I moved to Vegas once again. I had no family. I'm staying with a Mexican family underneath their dining table, paying $100 a month.
Wait, hold on. I got what happened that your mom decided to get you out? She was just like, you're 18, you need to go.
She was worried about me. She was worried about me. She just, and that's one thing I tell my girls, like, you got to understand, sometimes parents make decisions that kids will never understand, but it's for the best of them, for the best. Sometimes I would always wonder, like, why is my mom making those decisions? What is she saying? But now that you're an adult, you realize sometimes, you know what? She was just looking out for the best of you.
Yes.
And that's what mom was doing. So she shipped me off to Vegas. She had no choice. She knew that if I stayed in California, because she moved from LA to Inglewood to La Mirada, North Hollywood. So no matter where she went to California, I was just fucking up, period. Honestly. That's what it was, So she figured probably if I moved this guy to another state, he might figure something out different, see a different vibe, a different life, different. So that's what she did.
But I mean, Edwin, well, hold on. But I know me at 18, right? I think I know everything. The world is my oyster. You can't tell me to bounce out. So there had to be something in you that you agreed with this. Like, was there a piece of you that was like, all right, or was your mom just so good at convincing you, even at that age, that this is the right thing to do? Like, how did you? Because I'm not rolling out. I
didn't want to. I didn't want to leave my hometown. Leave the homies, leave everything that I know, my family. I didn't want to. But then again, it's like you have to start thinking at the 18. The only thing I was thinking about 18 in Las Vegas. Oh yeah, that definitely sounds like a good change for me, Mm-hmm. But still, even when I came to Vegas, that train of thought of trying to find something thuggish, something ruthless to do, trying to get in trouble, it was still in the back of my head. And the reason I say that, because I ran into a Colombian guy out here in Las Vegas. And of course, he tried to give me some kind of, and we started doing a little bit of, but at that moment, at the age of 18, I had to. Reason being, because I realized a lot of my old friends in California, they noticed that the simple move, a simple change of going to Las Vegas, they were calling me like, dude, you moved, that's good. And I'm thinking, like, maybe this is the opportunity for me to make a change. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is a reason why my mom shipped me out here.
Isn't that
'cause-
funny how that works? Like the moment you moved, then there's those guys that you looked up to that were in the thick of it. They were like, dude, thank God that you got out. But
right,
they
yes.
wouldn't say that shit when you were there,
Oh no.
you know, because but once you left, it was like, bro, bring me out. Like I'm, you
Right,
know, yeah,
yes,
this
that
sucks.
part. That's what they wanted.
So do you did you lose a lot of buddies in this
Oh yeah,
process, man?
bro.
Because like,
I lost a lot. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of people. You know what I mean? You're
yeah,
gonna lose. And one thing I've learned, you're gonna lose. But if you're gonna lose them, they probably weren't even worth it in the first place. You know what I mean?
yeah, man.
And that's the bottom line. You know what I mean? Because of course you're gonna learn to love people. It's human nature where people we're gonna learn to love them regardless. But they come and they go. They're like seasons.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you do you have people that you know that are still locked up now?
Oh yeah, brother. Yeah, definitely, bro. Locked up. I still hear news every once in a while. Hey, this guy passed away. He got shot at the bus stop. It's like, wow. You still hear the news, and it's sad, you know, because you think about it like that could have been me. I could have been in that predicament. I could have still been back in that bullshit hole that I was in, because that's what it was.
You
You
ever
know,
go
but
back?
that's why. Hell no,
No,
never, never,
no, you're
never,
out.
never. I'm out, bro. Whew.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man. I thought you were gonna say you go back because there's a sense of
Nah,
like, no, you just that's crazy. So
nah.
and you're happy when you say that. You feel like you've escaped something, man. So go back to like, you know, you were mentioning, you know, you get out here. And I think you were about to say this and then we went a different direction, but even when you got out here, your first instinct was to find a little bit of trouble. Is that what you were about
Yeah,
to say? So talk about that. Like, so you
yeah.
get out here, you find
I
because
got.
you attract
That's what
people
it is.
see
That's
you
all
and
they
they
know.
know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they see you, say like, "Oh, this guy, he about that life. He a thug." You know what I'm saying? Let me holler at him. So that's what they did. I come out here, start working construction. I thought I was gonna start working in the casino in Las Vegas. No, that didn't work out for me. So I started working construction, and the only reason I started working construction was because a month after I had moved in with his family, the gentleman approached me and says, "Edwin, I spoke to your mom. You can't be in Vegas without a job. You got to learn some responsibility. You're going to start working construction with me." I'm like, "All right, I'll give it a shot." I said, "I'm only going to do it for 6 months." I ended up doing it for 15 years.
Wow. You work
So
construction for 15 years.
15 years, marble and granite. My first big project was New York, New York.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a lot of that. So when I started working construction, I met this one gentleman. He was Colombian. You know, we started talking. He was very quiet. He was only talking to me. We started chopping it up. And next thing you know, he says, "Hey, let's go to my house." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go to your house, start chopping it up." But no lie. As soon as we get there, he pulls out a big old duffel bag.
Yeah.
And he says, "Hey, man, you from California?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You want to help me?" I said, "Help you do what?" No lie, bro. As soon as he opens that duffel bag, big old duffel bag, half of it was cocaine, half of it was marijuana. I was like, "Oh, nah, bro." I said, "Nah, I don't want to do that no more. It's not." I'm not gonna lie. We did kind of talk to him about it, but then again, it's like, nah, that's why I left in the first place.
Yeah.
This is not why I came here.
Well,
You know what I mean?
that's what I was going to say because I
It's
try to
not.
put
It's not
myself in a
worth it.
situation that you're in, right? And you're still young, you're in the 18, right? And you know, a lot of people don't realize like when you I'll tell you a quick story. So I had a buddy of mine. He's actually a lender. This is pretty funny. In Texas, I won't say his name, but you know, I lived in San Antonio, so a lot of our relatives and a lot of my friends' relatives were from the Rio Grande area. It's like it's called the Rio Grande Valley, and so it's right by the border. So they're transporting a lot of marijuana, and so somehow like he ends up with like a brick. I don't know how he ends up with a brick. But at 18, like, you know, they put a brick in front of you, man, and you're like,
Bro, that's
this
yeah.
is like, you know, you start like your mind starts wondering, like, okay, well, we need to get a scale. We got to get a, you know, you got to get like, how are we going to break this
How we
up,
gonna
you
break it
know,
up, right? How we come out
and
to
you
make
know, and then you start doing the math, right?
right.
And so like, but so at 18, and by the way, dude, by this point I'm working, like I'm legit, you know, in a corporate
Yeah.
environment. I work for Time Warner Cable at the time. Like, you know, so I was basically at that point out of that lifestyle. I had already pulled myself out, but even it happening, like it freaked me out. Like I was like, I had to pull back out of it because I could see like this, what am I doing? I've seen enough movies to know that this never ends up well.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Not only
so
the movies, but you already lived through it. Like me, I've already lived through it. Like I've already
yeah,
seen duffel bags of drugs, and I know the outcome. Yeah, it's good, quick, easy money, but not all money is good money, unfortunately.
not all
So
money is good
not
money,
all money
man.
is good money, brother.
That is a quote. I mean, for anybody that's watching, right? And you have opportunities. There's always an opportunity to do something wrong, but not all money is good money. And that also goes in lending. Like, don't cut corners. Don't do things that aren't right for the customer or for the company or for, the lending standards. Not all money is good money. And that's the
Good money.
truth of it, man.
Yeah,
God
that's
bless you for
real.
saying that, dude.
Thank you. That's the truth, though. Yeah.
So you get you're I'm sure you've been riddled with opportunities. How did you go from construction to then what was your next step out of that? Like you did that for you said 15 or 18 years?
15 years.
15 years. And then what happened after that?
My cousin, he got me into consumer lending
Mm-hmm.
because I was struggling. Construction was slow back then. They had laid me off. And it's funny because the boss, my construction boss, comes out and he was at least nice about it. He says, "Hey, you guys, I'm not gonna let you guys go because work is slow, but I went ahead and filed your unemployment for you, so you didn't got to make that call." Oh, wait, that was at least nice of you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he let us go. So during that time, I was struggling. My cousin approached me. He's like, "Look, I can get you a job. It's consumer lending." He said, "You're gonna work a lot of hours. You're really gonna work a lot of hours." I said, "Why not? I'll go for it." You know what I mean? I gave it a shot. At that moment is when I realized, you know what? There is different opportunities. There is different routes, different avenues, different boulevards that we can take in this life. Because it was good money, but it was legal money. You were making it the legal way. So when I seen that and I realized that, I said, "Yeah, this is good thing. This is something that I was never introduced to this." Because if you would, like I said, if you would have told me back in the day that you could sit in an office and make a good chunk of money, I would have never believed you. Because back in the days, an opportunity never existed. But when I learned that, I said, you know what? This is something I might actually like to do. And of course, once we get into an industry, unfortunately, we get into it for the money. But then you
Without a
learn
doubt,
there's more. But there's more behind it. Because one thing I learned as a lender was you're not always going to get a paycheck. I'm sorry. You're not always going to get a paycheck. There's times I used to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I didn't get my first paycheck till 8 months after I got a license.
Okay, stop there because that's what a lot of people don't realize, right? I get a lot of calls from my friends back in Texas and they see me posting and dude, what I'm posting, it looks fun. It looks like we're having a great time, right? We're dancing, but that's like 5 minutes of my day. And then the rest of the day is we're putting out fires. We're talking to people. You're getting yelled at like, yeah. Right. So, but the thick of it is I work my ass off. I put in the hours to get to the space that we're in today. And every day I wake up and it's like, where's the next deal? Right? How do we help the next person? And for you, it's the same thing, man. And so, if you're listening and you want to be a lender, this homie had to wait 8 months to get his first check. And I always tell anybody, you want to get into the industry, don't even call me until you have a license. And when you have a license, be ready to starve because the first 6 months suck. The first 6 months suck. And most people quit at the 4 to 5 month mark because they're like, hey, I can't afford to live like this.
I was about to quit myself.
There you go. So what kept you at it and how did you keep going?
Bro, I remember the first couple of months, bro. I was on what we call the top ramen diet. I was eating top ramen breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If I needed a midnight snack, I was grabbing me a top ramen for 8 months straight.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I had to do what I had to do. But the only reason I kept pushing was because my train of thought was if I go ahead and struggle 1 or 2 years, I'll be okay because I don't want to struggle another 15, 20 years, bro.
But you also saw people that were probably not nearly as talented as you making money. So you're like, okay, if that dude can do it.
If that dude can do it, exactly, then I could do it. And that's what I tell everybody. If I could do it, you could do it. Because where I come from, there wasn't the opportunity. But that's what I'm trying to educate my Latino community as well. Because if I could do it, and I came from the slums, I came from the bottom, I came from the gutter. If I could do it, you could do it. But it's your train of thought. It's the mentality, bro. It's the grind. Because if you wake up every day with a purpose, you're good. You know what I mean? But you got to have a reason why. Why? Because I don't want to go back to that struggle. Why? Because I'm tired of that life. Why? Because this is what I want. Why? Because I want to better myself. You know, there's got to be a why. If there's not, then just go back to bed. Because
Just
you're
go
not
back
doing
to
nothing
bed.
anyways.
That's it, dude. And that's the difference. I mean, no one, very few people are willing to put in the work that has to
Very
be
few
done,
people,
right?
bro. Very
And
few.
it's very like I see people come from the auto industry and can make it work because they know somewhat numbers and they know how to talk to people. They've been
Right.
but I very rarely see people coming from the construction business and figured it out the way that you have. So congratulations on that,
Thank you,
man.
brother. Thank you.
So you get into it, you're 8 months, you're starving. Let me ask you a quick question. When you eat
Starving.
top ramen today, does it take you back? Like does it taste take you back
Bro, I haven't
to
had a top ramen in months, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It's been months, and if I have it, I'm gonna have it with a side of lobster and some steak now. You know what I mean? We're gonna have some, yeah. Now we have that opportunity,
Yeah.
you know, because now we've worked through the struggle. We've been through the woods. I
Yes.
know what's on the other side of that forest, you know?
So you go into consumer lending, you're grinding, you're in a call center, right? So call
Yes.
centers, and I've said this before, but call centers are like it's like a it's like a pressure cooker, if you will,
Oh,
in
bro.
the sense that you got everybody trying to take that lead that's on your phone, right? So when you get that phone to ring, it's gold. And
It's
then
gold.
you're like listening to the, ways to like, what's my in on this person, like from the
Yes.
get, right? Like you're just trying to
Exactly.
connect. And then, then you worry about conversion. How many, if I take 10 calls, how many people are going to tell me a yes? And how do I strategically
Exactly.
get them to that next level?
Yep.
There's all these things, but you do it on steroids. You do what we do today, right? Like today, like if I can talk to 5 people in a day, that's an amazing day. In a
Yeah,
call
for
center, how many
real.
people were you talking to in a call center?
I would be taking about, oh, bro, I would take about 150, 200 applications a day.
Dude, think about that, guys. 150. Those are all conversations of trust. That person has to trust you. You have to develop that trust to get them to allow you to pull the credit to get to the next stage, right? And so what you don't realize is the gift that you have in the normal conversations of it's a strategy, right? Like I want to get to know the person that I'm working with and gain that trust so that we can take it to the next place and get the credit. And then at that point, it's like everything falls into place. But
Yes.
it's in between that contact to credit that you're really trying to gain trust and educate them so that they can put their faith that you're going to help them fulfill the need that they have.
Correct.
So when did you start like just hitting it where how long did it take from like leaving construction, getting laid off to actually getting a check that do you remember your first big check and how much was it?
Oh, yeah, bro. I remember I was sitting at the office and I remember I had my feet up at the desk. My office manager's walking behind my desk. I straighten out my desk. He says, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Edwin, have you ever made $10,000 in a month?" I said, "No, I never made that much money. I never knew you could." He said, "Well, keep doing what you're doing. You're on track to do so." And sure enough, I did. I
You
made
hit
$10,000
10,000 in a
in a
month,
month.
right? Dude,
But you know how many loans I had to close for those 10,000?
I
It was
know,
it
but
was
you
a
did it,
hustle.
right? Like
But we did
you
it.
knew how to hustle, you knew how
We
to
knew
do
how to
it.
hustle, brother.
And
Yeah.
then so what took you like what had to happen in the industry for you to decide, okay, I'm going to go from this call center environment, which by the way, not only is it hard for somebody to go from construction to call center lending because you're having to use your mind, your voice, your heart. You have to use
Vocal skills, communication skills. You got to use all that. You
everything.
know?
You're mirroring the customer, you're building
Yes.
rapport, like all those things, right? But that's different from picking up a hammer and I don't got to talk to nobody, right? Like I'm just talking shit in my head about that dude that doesn't know what he's
Yeah.
doing. Like,
That's all
but
I
then you
do.
go in and you're like, okay, like I'm going to use these skills that God gave me to transition what I'm doing. And then you use that to go out face to face with people, which is again, not a lot of people, very few people have success coming from a call center where they're fed leads to then going and creating your own opportunities. And how did you do that? What was that transition like?
Oh, it wasn't easy, brother. It wasn't easy. Like you said, going from construction to call centers night and day. When I remember my first couple of calls, I had it was just a simple hello, how can I help you? You have the guys next to me. It's like, dude, you're doing it wrong. That's not how you
Everybody's
do it.
listening.
Like,
Your voice
everybody's
is
listening to my
quivering.
call. Yeah, it's like, but the good thing is you learn from your mistakes. You know,
Yeah.
so every call I got better. You know, so what helped me actually pretty much make the decision to join the mortgage industry, I met two gentlemen. They were brothers. One of them is in the mortgage industry, one's in the consumer loans. We go out, we're out there blowing our checks, having drinks. Next thing you know, he comes up to me, he's like, hey, muchacho, because muchacho is what they call me. He's like, have you ever, he said, how much did you make? I said, I hit the 10,000. He said, how many loans did you close? I said, I hit about 35, 40 loans, consumer loans. He looked at me with a big old grin on his face. He said, I made the same amount of money you did. I said, really? He said, but I only closed 3 loans. What?
Yeah.
I was like, what? So that's the first thing that got me hooked. I was like, whoa, if you're making that much money with working half of the things that I have to work, I'm interested. I'm intrigued. You know, and once again, it goes back to in the days we didn't have that opportunity. We didn't know about that. So once you actually know somebody that does that, you want to start asking questions. You want to start, like, how did you do that? How did you learn about that? Because I want to be there. Because back in the days, the only people I knew were people in the hood. And I couldn't ask them these questions because they would have never gave me the right influence, the right answers. You know, so yeah, that's what pretty much got me into the mortgage industry. But
so you get in, right? And then that's a whole nother set of, of fear, bro. So you get in. Did you go broker? Where did you go first? Like what kind of lender did you go?
I went broker. I started as a receptionist at a small brokerage. Yeah,
okay. Hold on, bro. Hold on, bro. Dude, I hope one of your homies from the hood here's a year. So what, dude? Because
hey, it is what it is, you know.
No. Listen, bro. Listen. I've done it all, man. So dude, today, you know, like, you know, dude, if I got to go get you a cup of coffee, I'm doing it, right? Whatever it takes for you to be successful, I got you, man. But let's talk about this. So you go in and you're a receptionist, right? But that also teaches you a number of things. It teaches you how to talk to people, how to answer the phone, all those things. So what was that like, dude? I mean, did you go into this like annoyed, or did you go in this like an opportunity was there and you were gonna what was that like from a mental perspective?
I'm not gonna lie, I went in probably hoping for the best, expecting the worst. You know,
Gotcha.
I didn't know if they were gonna give me that opportunity. When I walked into this brokerage, bro, the lady looked at me and she looked at me from head to toe because I was just wearing the jeans and a polo shirt. And took me back.
Your best polo, bro. Your best polo.
My Sunday wear. You know what I'm saying? I even ironed it.
Dude, see that? See, people don't understand, dude, what it's like to iron that polo, bro.
Oh, bro, it's, you know what I'm saying? You got to start it, make sure it looks good. You know, that's what you got to do. What you got to do. So, but it was a life-changing experience for me at that moment when I walked there and they gave me that opportunity. Yeah. Because I was scared, bro. I didn't know what I was doing. A lot of people's like, oh, you're just a receptionist. Yeah, but it's a whole different world for me. Yeah. I didn't know if I was doing it right. I didn't know how to approach people. I didn't know how to, so you learn a lot. You learn how to communicate with people. Yep. You learn to take that chip off your shoulder. You're not on the streets no more. You know what I mean? Like, hold your head high, be presentable, be professional. You're not like, hey, what up? How you doing? Welcome in. You don't do that.
So, okay, wait, let me ask you a question. Because did you ever find yourself in that job? Did somebody ever push you back into the streets? Like where you were like, bro, you don't talk to me like that. You ever does that ever happen in your head where you go street real quick, man?
Oh, bro, yeah. I've had my friends on the phone. Every time I pick up my phone, they call me. They be like, hello? I'm like, yeah. They're like, man, quit trying to sell me something. That ain't you. I'm like, oh, yeah, what up, John? What you doing? They do, still to this day.
That's awesome.
They're like, hey, I'm like, yeah, man, that's true. I'm like, yeah, but they don't recognize because it's totally different.
It's totally different, man.
Person now.
Yeah. So you're now a receptionist. How did you break out of doing that role into, you know, doing what going into actually on the streets, no paycheck? I got to go find deals.
It was just a struggle. It was a hustle. It was something that the way I looked at it is, and the only way I looked at it was, Edwin, if you knew how to hit the streets back then, you got to hit the streets this time. But this time there's a better reason why. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna hit the streets, you're gonna hit it, and there's a motivation, there's a reason why. Back in them days, I hit the streets, push a little bit of this, push a little bit of that, this thing. This time, I'm gonna push and represent myself, my business, my industry. I'm gonna try to do something for me. But the first opportunity that I got from a receptionist, I went to as a processor. They gave me the opportunity to become a processor there because the processor put in 2 weeks. Office manager comes up to me and says, "Would you like to process?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, I'll definitely take the opportunity." So they gave me the opportunity to process. And that's when I started learning more about the mortgage industry and really started digging in and started reading books and doing some research on the web and doing some Google. They started learning the terminology because I didn't want the loan officers coming to me and throw something at me and me not know what I'm talking about because just it wouldn't look right.
Were you a good processor?
Bro, no.
You weren't?
I'm not gonna lie, no. What am I gonna
Well,
tell you? No, I wasn't.
the reason I ask is
you.
because, like, yeah, but I mean, like, the reason I asked that question is, and I love that you said no, is because, like, it takes a very specific dynamic individual to be, and let me take that back. It takes a very specific individual to be a processor, and usually it's not going to be somebody who has a skill set for sales as well. However, I will say this: I think if I could do it all over again, the best place to start is receptionist, because as a receptionist, I have a person here today who she started off at the front desk. And now she's closing 30 million a year, and that's just like a small portion of her bigger job. And then I have another person that started after her who started as a receptionist and then moved into doing, a bunch of video edits and marketing for me. And now just put in 3 million last month in that role. Right. So but hearing, like, and these were individuals that had no mortgage experience, right? Like, you hear everything that happens, like you're listening to terminology and you're just immersed in it. It's a different language in the mortgage industry that's happening. And you get to observe so much. So it's a very good opportunity, but start from the bottom and then you go in to be a processor. But what it teaches you about processing is how to structure your loan on the front end better, right? So I would imagine that you have a better process on how you collect information from a borrower than you would have if you didn't do that. And that to me is key. So how long were you a processor for, man?
I was there at that small brokerage for about 6 months.
Okay.
And then, of course, I fixed up my resume and I put it out there, and then a bigger company hired me as a loan officer assistant.
As a loan officer assistant. So you go in and you go be a loan officer assistant. So receptionist to processor to loan officer assistant, an amazing way to do it. And here's why you were able to do it, because when you grow up in a very low income situation, and I say this all the time, I can go poor tomorrow. I can lose everything and I'm okay.
Right.
Because I've already been there. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll figure out how to get back. Exactly. But I can go, like, when the recession happened, both my wife and I were laid off because we were both in the mortgage industry. And she was a manager at a company, and they allowed her, like, they laid her off, but then called her back to go back on the phones. Like, she can go be an LO. So she was like, I'm going to go do that until, you figure out what you're going to do. I was cutting coupons. Like, I was eating bologna. I was eating top ramen. She's like, you're way too comfortable about your situation. I'm like, this is how I came up. I'll go back to that. Like, I was warming up I'd warm up tortilla on a comal, and I put the bologna on there too. And, and that's how, but I'm okay with that. And so to be able to go into these roles before you hit it it takes time. And it takes repetition for you to get really comfortable in a space. So you go from loan officer assistant. How long did it take for you how long were you in that role before you said, okay, I got it, I'm going to go out on my own?
Oh, wow, bro. I was there for years. I was a loan officer assistant. Then I went back to processing. Then I was a transaction coordinator. Yeah, I was in it for years. And the simple fact of the fear, bro.
Yeah.
I was in the process. When I was processing, I would see all these loan officers run around with their heads cut off like chickens. They rush. Like, dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? But then once you actually become a loan officer, you learn that, well, you only eat what you kill in this industry.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So unfortunately, now I understand this perspective about him trying to get that deal closed. Not only that, there's livelihoods expecting their keys to move in. So there's a lot of pressure on a loan officer. But as a processor, sometimes me being you, I didn't think about it. I'm like, man, what is this guy tripping about? You know what I'm saying? But you learned. So when I was processing, I learned a lot. Ethical. emotional. You learn about how to help people and listening to these loan officers. Sometimes you learn what not to do as well. You know, so you learn a little bit of everything. What got me to actually make the decision to get my license was because I got fired as a processor.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right? Because, you know, I did a post not too long ago, you know, and it was something that I always felt the shame about. And I got fired, you know, and I was like, you know, and like I was embarrassed by it. Like I created all these like stories about like without actually just saying I got fired. And it took a long time for me to be okay with just being like, fuck it, I got fired, you know? And that's just, and they were wrong. They shouldn't have fired me, you know, but you know, like without that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had the opportunities. We wouldn't be talking. You know what I mean? Like there's not a place right now I'd rather be than doing this. And if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. Right. So when you got fired, man, tell me about that. Tell me about that day and how it happened and and the emotions you went through on that.
Oh, bro, it was rough. It was tough because I loved what I did. I loved doing the mortgage stuff. I loved it. I remember that morning I walked in, I seen the receptionist. She was already crying because she was a good friend of mine. She was already crying. She had packed my stuff up. As soon as I get there, I see my boss lady, and she says, Edwin, let me talk to you. I already knew off bat I had to be let go. She says down to me, she says, look, Edwin, I hate to let you go. She said, you should get your license. You know your shit. I was like, oh, man. I said, I don't know about that, man. I don't want to be doing all that type of stuff. And she said, just think about it. She said, if you get your license, as soon as you get your license, I'll hire you back. I was like, all right, whatever.
Why were they letting you go, by the way?
Production was slow.
Okay. So they were just cutting. They were cutting. And that's the name of the business, right? It gets slow.
Unfortunately, it gets slow. That's the way it is. They got the overhead has to go. You know, so that's what it was. So they let me go. And I remember I was sitting at home debating on what I was going to do. Should I go back to construction? Should I keep in the mortgage industry? What should I do? Well, I never got a severance pay. And here comes a paycheck in the mail. I never got a severance pay. And here I open up the paycheck and I'm like, what do I do with this paycheck? Mm-hmm. I love shoes. I'm a Jordan guy. I love buying my Jordans. And I was like, I can go buy me a couple of pair of J's. You know what I'm saying? They got the new Force that just came out. I'm like, or I could actually invest in myself. So what's the first thing I did? I went to Key Realty, cashed my check, went to Key Realty and bought my books, enrolled into my classes, and I went ahead and took my class to become an LO. 30 days I studied. I locked myself in that room for 30 days straight, 8 hours a day, hit them books hard. But I told myself I'm going to pass this test. I had to.
Did you pass it the first time around?
The first time around.
Yeah. And that's because you had to, right? So
I had to.
Yeah, man, that's like, and that's scary because like, I didn't do good in high school. Like I could never study. And I'm pretty sure if some doctor was looking at me, they'd probably say I had, you know, ADD or ADHD or something. Cause I can't focus, you know, on reading books. As I get older, I get better at it, but doing that test, man, that was tough, man.
It's tough.
You know, so you get through it. You pass the test. Now you got some confidence and you're valuable now because you got that license. And that's the truth of it. Like you start talking to lenders before you have that license, it's a waste of time. Get the license, right? Get it.
License.
And then what was it like your first, like, how long did it take from that point to get your first deal and do you remember your first deal funding?
Oh yeah, bro. It was a teacher.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She wanted a condo. You know what I mean? We helped her out with the teacher.
How did you meet her, by the way? How did she get a hold of you?
It was a lead from the company. They gave me that lead. So it was my first actual lead. So I was able to go ahead. That was 8 months after I got my license.
Wow. 8 months. So 8 months, bro. Right. So you get it.
8 months, bro.
And then what happens then with your confidence? Like, how do you start, you know, really seeing some success with this? And what happened during that period?
Well, you see the value in yourself. You see that you actually do something to help the people out.
Yep.
You know, you actually see that the little bit of knowledge that you got, if you could share with somebody, it goes a long way. And the reason I say that is because when I bought my house, if somebody would have gave me the knowledge that I got now, bro, I'll have a couple of houses.
Yeah.
You feel me? I'll have a couple of mansions up in Southern Hills, but nobody educated me. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at now. Like, you know what? I got this much. Let me educate my people. Let me help them so they don't go what I went through. You know, and that's really what really got me to go out there to help my people, educate my people. You know,
Well,
because buying a house is a
that's a big
process.
thing, man, because when I look at I said it earlier, but when I look at this space, I think that we lack educators around financing. You know, if I think about my mom or my grandfather or my grandmother, some that didn't speak a lick of English, to walk in and figure out how to get a house, and that loan officer being a very high priced loan officer on purpose, because they know that the person that they're talking to doesn't know the difference between a 3% rate or a 6% rate, because it doesn't
Right.
sound like a big jump, but they're doing it to get paid more. That breaks my heart, right? And there needs to be good people in the industry that are educating, and I think you're one of them, man. I think that you have really leaned into this, but tell me where that comes from. Me, where does that kindness, that doing the right thing, come from? Knowing that you grew up and you grew up with not that thought process. What do you think that where do you think that comes from, Edwin?
The struggles, knowing what I went through.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Knowing that if I got the opportunity to help somebody, the way I look at it, God put me in a position for a reason. Everybody in his life has a purpose. My purpose is not to close transactions. My purpose, educate my people. Bro, it breaks my heart when they take advantage of my people. It kills me, bro. I'm not gonna bullshit you. It fucking kills me. Why? Because that was me. People took advantage of me. Yeah, fuck it. It is what it is. But I'd be damned if a motherfucker does that to my people again. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm not gonna let that happen. You know what I mean? What makes me think like that, bro, is because it's rough, bro. It's rough. It's rough. It is fucking rough. People will do anything to pinch a penny.
Mm.
Yes. People will do anything to take advantage of the next person. Yes. But you know what? Nah, it ain't gonna happen. I'm here to change that game, bro. I'm sorry. And I tell everybody, I don't care if you go to a different lender. Do what you gotta do. But if you need advice and you want something real, let me holler at you. Because I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is and how it should be. You know what I mean? And
Man,
that's the thing. Nobody educated us, bro. And
that's
that's why
it.
I want to hit these high schools. Because still till
Yes.
these days in high school, nobody's educating these kids about finances.
No one.
Nobody.
No one.
Credit, what you could do. People with bad credit live an expensive life. Why? Because of the interest rates that they pay.
Hmm.
You pay all that interest on bad credit. Why? Because nobody taught you. Nobody taught us. It's
Hmm.
sad, bro. It is sad. You
Well,
know what I
dude, I'm
mean?
gonna
I'm
tell you. I'm
starting to
gonna
get emotional, bro, but it kills me, bro.
No, man. Look. I mean, that's it, right? That's that raw emotion. That's that unfiltered. Like, that's what we need in this industry. We need more of you. And I'm gonna put it down for you right now, man, because and trust me when I say this. And you have an opportunity right now to make a significant change in the industry, in your community. And if I had to fast forward a year from now, what I want to see, man, is you on stage. I want to see you telling your story, locked up to lender to millionaire. And you're going to do it, Edwin. And I want
Amen,
to be
brother.
right there with you, brother, when we do
Amen,
this, right?
brother.
So
Amen. We
I
are.
appreciate you. And for those of you who don't know, Edwin took an amazing chance on me and the company that I work with, Loan Depot, to build his business with us and to go out and help the community. And we are going to continue to invest in people like Edwin and Edwin, because I feel like that's what the community needs, is more people like you that are helping out, man. And so,
Thank you, brother.
Edwin, I can't thank you enough for being raw, for being emotional, for being you, dude. And thank you for trusting me on this journey. And I
Oh, thank you,
promise you, dude, I
brother.
got your back, man.
Oh, and I appreciate it, bro. Thank you for the opportunity, bro. Thank you. Right now, we just got to aim for the stars, bro. That's all we can do.
And I'm right there with you, brother. And everybody, thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, like, subscribe, comment, DM me and Edwin. Edwin, where can people find you, man? on
You
social?
can find me on social media. You can find me on YouTube.
Okay.
Edwin Escaray. I got a
All
new
right.
YouTube channel trying to educate my Spanish people.
Rock and roll, man. Thank you so much, Edwin, for being here. And guys, peace out. Have a good day.